Hey there, what's up YouTube? I'm coming at you today with some War of the Visions live PvP gameplay. And today I just want to show you guys some interesting PvP mechanics that I think are pretty underrated. I don't think I've seen anyone talk about what I'm planning to talk about. So hopefully I got you hooked, and let's get into it. Okay, so straight off the bat, my Mediena is going to nuke the other Mediena with her classic Limit Burst Cosmo Plume. And that's going to take her off the map right away. And actually, that's a huge mistake that I made. I should have Limit Bursted the enemy Sid, because I could have just finished him off with my Gilgamesh right there, and my Kitone could have finished off Mediena without any turns being taken by the enemy team. But that is not what I did, so I will have to live with my mistake. Okay, so my Gilgamesh is going to cast Kotetsu to maximize the amount of damage he can do, and I did that kind of purposefully because I wanted to pressure the enemy Sid into using Shadow Blade, which is not his strongest damage dealing ability. So that means that he won't be able to kill any of my units on his first turn if he decides to attack. Kind of see him contemplating which unit to attack, and right there he does use Shadow Blade. Right, and that almost killed my Gilgamesh, but not quite. Right, so right now he's trying to find out where to position his Engelbert, and he makes a smart decision and puts it right in front of his Sid, because if he did not put it there, I could have just attacked him with my Gilgamesh and finished him off with my Kitone. Right, so Sid actually gets another turn here, and instead of using that turn to finish off my Gilgamesh, he casts his shield ability, which is kind of interesting. It's safer in the long run, but I think he could have beaten me if he took down my Gilgamesh here. But again, we're not all perfect, we all make mistakes. And you're going to see a bunch of mistakes made by both me and my opponent in the video, so definitely looking forward to those. Right, so now I want to cast Lunaverve, the ability from Mediena's TMR. Right now I'm just trying to figure out how I can maximize my spacing. Right, so I'm going to put her in the back row, safe from any attacks, and cast Lunaverve on both her and Kitone. Okay, so my Gilgamesh has a couple options here. He can go to the back lines, and he can cast a wide variety of his spells. And because he has high agility, any of the spells he decides to cast are going to go off before either the enemy Sid or Engelbert have a chance or have their next turn. Okay, so right now Kitone, I want to definitely get her to attack Sid on this turn, because again it's pressuring him to use his Dusk Blade ability. And right now that was a little bit of a risky play, but I am relying on Kitone's high evasion stat. Right, so Gilgamesh manages to cast Quicken. That is probably one of the best abilities in this game. Highly recommend anyone to invest in a unit that has Quicken, because it's so good for PvE content as well. Right, so right now I'm thinking of whether or not I should cast Cura, but I don't bother because that puts Mediena in a vulnerable position, and it's not going to go off before the enemy Sid gets his turn. Right, so you might think that that was a waste of a Quicken, but it really wasn't. It resets Mediena's turn to be sooner, so she can actually act sooner. Okay, so here Sid is going to make the smart choice and not attack my Gilgamesh. That would be a waste of AP. and a waste of a turn. He does a really good job and targets my Mediena, and he will bring her down with his Crush Armor move. So powerful. Yeah. And that's good, because my Mediena was the biggest threat to his team. Even though she used her Limit Burst, she can take down the enemy Engelbert really quickly with Flare and Blizzard. Right, so Gilgamesh is kind of in a bad spot here. He doesn't have any AP to cast Kotetsu, so I just go in there for an attack. And, right, Orlando casts his Auto Refresh ability, which I think is one of the best passive abilities in this game. It's so powerful. Okay, so the enemy Engel attacks my Gilgamesh, which is probably the best thing he could have done. I was able to get a lucky Clairvoyant Blade off on him, which is good. And my Kitone is able to finish the enemy Sid off with an auto attack. And right there, I didn't move away because basically I do want to get a Shuriken on Engelbert before I decide to kind of kite him. Right there, I'm just checking how much my regular attack does on him. Right, so I throw a Shuriken, and I run the fuck away. Because Taunting Blade is a bitch. But I soon realized that I'm in the range of his Taunting Blade anywhere I go, so yeah. Now, I'm not in too good of a situation there. But Kitone is not the squishiest character in the game, which is good, and I do have her equipped with, I believe, an HP raising piece of equipment. Right, and a Taunting Blade from Engelbert is definitely not going to one-shot my Kitone. Okay, so basically the game plan from here on out is to slowly whittle down Engelbert's health, and pretty much kite around him, maximize Kitone's really high agility. Right, so I think about casting another Shuriken on him, but then I realize that Doton's going to do more damage because I'm not exactly sure the math behind that, but Doton, I believe, has some magic scaling on it. Don't quote me. Right, so I want to whittle down his health, because when the turn count gets to 0, the player with the most maximum health, or sorry, the most percentage health wins. So right now I'm trying to get my AP up by using my my TP abilities. So I just use Poison Cloud, which is a really good ability for mobility, because you could cast it after you move 4 or 5 blocks, and it can get you from one end of the map to the other. Not joking. It's very powerful. Okay, so at this point Engelbert's feeling a bit confident. I would be too if I were in his scenario. Right, so he just needs to get his AP up again, and he's gotta just cast Taunting Blade on me one more time, and I should be down. But actually, his decision to move there cost him the match, and let me show you why. Poison Mist, sorry. I'm going to use that one more time, because Poison Mist, I think, is one of the most underrated abilities in this game, especially when you're fighting tanks, because look at what's going to happen. So I was successfully able to proc Poison on him, and basically the way Poison works, in my experience, is it does a percentage of damage of your health, and it ignores any kind of shield ability that you have. And as you're going to see, in the next turn, Engelbert is going to cast his 3x shield ability, Saintly Wall, I believe it's called. Right. But you're going to notice that it does an unmitigated 446 damage to him. Right, just look at that. That is quite a lot, especially when you're playing the kite game and you're moving around, and it's going to be a couple turns before Engel really gets to you, right? So in those couple turns, he's going to be continuously losing 446 HP, and that's going to add up. Right, so right now, Engelbert's kind of realizing, oh crap, this is not good. So he doesn't run away. He does want to keep me in range so that he has a chance at using Taunting Blade. And then he does use Saintly Healing, which is probably the best thing he could do at that moment. So right now I'm just checking the damage of my abilities, checking their range, seeing if I can finish him off right there and right then and there. But if I actually ended up casting a Shuriken, I would have lost. Because Engel actually has enough AP for another Taunting Blade, and the poison would not finish him off in time, so I decided to run away. Right, and because of Kitone's huge agility, she is able to get 2 move turns in before Engel is able to act. Right, so Engel's kind of given up at this point. He's not going to try and chase me further. He's going to try to wait it out. And unfortunately, the game's already lost for him. Can't really do much. Because you're going to notice that I have around 800 HP remaining. And he has 1,100, but I'm still going to end up winning the game. Why? Because we're dealing with percentage HP here. My maximum HP is 2,800. Or 2,900, and his maximum HP is 4,400. So that means I have more than 40% of my HP. He has less than 40% of his HP, which, yeah, I hate to break it to you, Engel, but your Saintly Healing is not gonna save you from this one. Okay. Yeah, that's just me checking the HP. Right. So yeah, we're pretty much done with the match. Secured my victory. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys my live PvP team. And basically, Kitone, you'll notice that even though I have 2 Hermes boots, I'm not equipping her with one. Why? Because I think Gilgamesh and Mediena are so much more valuable if you get their first turns in before the enemy team, rather than Kitone, because they have multi-hit abilities. Gilgamesh has Kotetsu, Mediena has her Limit Burst, and basically you could use this to your advantage. You could finish off one really powerful unit, such as a level 99 Sid, before he gets to act. Or you can finish off 2 sometimes if you're lucky. Usually people position their healer in the middle or their tank in the middle. And if you remember the element circle, Gilgamesh and Mediena are, they're both ice types. So they will do extra damage to Ayaka. So if Ayaka is even remotely close, if she's even on the very edge of the multi-hit ability range, then she will just die. Mediena and Gilgamesh will make quick work out of her. Also tanks, Mediena's Limit Burst does at least 40 to 50% of Engelbert's HP, even if you have him at like level 89 or level 99. Because remember, this is the first turn. Engel does not get to cast any of his defense or spirit raising abilities. And then Kitone, she's really good at finishing off units, single targets, not multi-targets. So she already has a really high amount of agility. So I don't put the Hermes sandals on her because she doesn't really need it. She will go the last of the three, but even if she doesn't have her Hermes sandals on her, she will actually still end up going before any of the other enemy teams. So that's about it. I can talk a little bit about my espers. I do not have the best espers. I do have Odin, which is really good for Gilgamesh because of the man-ear, because of the attack, because of the HP, everything. Odin is just so good for PvP. But you'll notice that I don't have any other good espers that I got from my pulls. I actually got really unlucky with my esper pulls. So I am using Iron Golem. I think that's still a really good esper for Kitone. And I am using Siren for Mediena. I think we got Siren at launch, right? We didn't get her from our pulls. But Siren is still pretty good. She doesn't have any magic up passives, but she still has really good stats all across the board. Same can be said with Iron Golem. He has really good stats and passive abilities. But of course, Iron Golem is not as good as other UR espers, and Siren is not as good as Shiva or Rama. Let's see. Yes, we can also talk about my vision cards. So Vow of Love, I think, is really important for Kitone because it gives the attack plus ability as the party ability, and that's really important. Of course, you don't need Vow of Love for live PvP because the hate effect really doesn't work on enemies, but the attack plus percentage is really valuable. And if you have any other vision cards that can give a party ability for attack plus percentage, I highly recommend that on one of your units. Now for Gilgamesh, I put on him Kitone's vision card, which gives the slash attack party ability bonus. That's really important because, especially if you have slash attackers, which is like what, 50% of the damage dealing attack units in this game, right? And I was lucky enough to pull Trousseau for Mediena. That gives her a huge amount of magic. My Trousseau, which is level 55, gives her 126 magic, which is quite a lot. And of course, it gives the party ability of Magic Attack Plus, which I think is pretty useful even for this team composition, because Gilgamesh does have some magic-related abilities. So if he does decide to use Frostblade or Hamon, because in some niche circumstances they are better than Kotetsu, and they are lower AP cost. If you do decide to use any of the magic abilities, then of course Trousseau from Mediena will help out a lot. Yeah, that's about it. Of course, I'm using Mont's TMR and Mediena's TMR to give my Gilgamesh and Mediena some extra tankiness and some extra utility. I'll make a separate video talking about TMRs later, especially Mediena's TMR, which I think is really, really good. Okay, well, thank you for watching, and I'm sorry for my bumbling and my awkward commentary. This is my first War of the Visions video, so I hope you all enjoy. Thank you.